Welcome back to Finweek Money Matters. This week's trade of the week is Mediclinic. Tandisizwe, this was one of your picks. Yeah. Why are we looking at Mediclinic this week?
So I'm an investor currently in a pharmaceutical company, and my investment has done pretty well. And then I sat and I was trying to restructure my portfolio, and I realized that the healthcare sector is a pretty defensive sector, if you will. It's not cyclical. People get, they need to visit the hospitals all the time. It's not certain times of the year or in a cycle that they need to go to the hospital. And I happened to visit a Mediclinic hospital, and the parking lot was packed to capacity. And you get inside and you can see the service, you can see how things are done properly and right, and you can understand why people would always flock into a Mediclinic. It's not a massively cheap stock, but it's not expensive either. It's currently trading at around 20 times PE, between the 71, 73 rand range. And I'm looking to get in and see how far I can go. It's got some interesting operations. Remember, in South Africa, it's got about 49 private hospitals operating. But I'm also interested in what it's doing in the Middle East. Currently, it's got 24% of the private beds. I mean, for me, that's significant. It's got 10% of the public beds. And if you consider the fact that I think it's a statistic from 2012, that about 88% of the UAE population was made of expats. And their government-funded healthcare is only for UAE, only for the UAE population. So you've got that whole 88% of that population into your hands.
Okay, so you seem to be clearly bullish on that. I'm getting that sort of tone. All right, now it's time now to look at the Befriend the Trend. Well, this week's trend is the opportunity for young African entrepreneurs. This is an interesting one because just looking at some of the articles that came out, they said that they're seeing quite a shortage of young female entrepreneurs in the renewable space, especially in Central Africa and North Africa. Lisa, maybe I can bring you into this. You can help us unpack this. I mean, why?
I think there's a lack of development across the board. I think there's a lack of development of entrepreneurs, there's a lack of development of black entrepreneurs, and there's a lack of development of women entrepreneurs. Black, white, there's just the structures that have been set up are not feeding enough people through. And the longevity is that they're getting through with good ideas, but there's no sustainability. There's no sustainability within the projects, and I think business are very bullish about the projects, but once the publicity's been done, once the awards have been handed out, like the Nzisho Awards that have been done this week, the sort of projects fade out, and once the media, the attention has faded away, the projects sort of fizzle out, and there's no real longevity and staying power. And so we're not actually seeing any kind of real returns from any of these entrepreneurship projects that are going through.
Tandisizwe, we've just got a few seconds left, but we'd like to get your input on this.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think generally we all agree that for us to grow, for the rest of Africa to grow, as we have seen in many developed countries where entrepreneurship or small business is the main contributor towards employment, and that's what we need in South Africa, that's what we need in the rest of Africa to grow. And there are supportive mechanisms, things like funding, etc., etc. But often you find a lot of, call it young people, sitting at home, and it's difficult to think that I want to become an entrepreneur in that space, if you don't know that there are opportunities for things like renewable energy. I mean, there's a lot of science schools in the country, and if you can go there and say, there's an energy crisis, we need more renewable energy ideas, you need do something in your community, then you are unleashing the potential for those learners to think beyond just the classroom and to think beyond just passing the test when the exams come.
Well, thank you so much for making the time to join us. So that's all from this week's edition of Finweek Money Matters. Thanks to my co-hosts, Tandisizwe Mahlutshana, who's the Finweek Deputy Editor, and Lisa Illingworth, a Finweek journalist. Now remember, you can read more about these stories and many others in this week's edition of Finweek that is on the shelf from today. Remember that this is also available online in both English and Afrikaans via mysubs.co.za. Till next time, it's goodbye.